Hola, mis amigos y amigas. It's Jeff. Hello. How are you doing? Are you doing well? Are you doing poorly? I hope you're doing very well. I hope you're thriving. As always, I use the word too often, but I think it's a great word, isn't it? Thrive. The TH sound. It's a good one. It's Monday here in Mexico City. It's also Monday in United States of America and Canada and so forth and so on. But you understand. I just want context for when I'm recording this. Monday at 12:25 in the afternoon. August 3rd, perhaps? Sí, yo creo que sí. This is the third re-released episode of onefjef, and I still haven't decided what episode I'm going to re-release here. So it'll just be a surprise. So that's exciting for you and for me. It also gives me a good excuse not to talk about it in this, prologue scenario, this introduction thing. So I won't have to do that because I don't know what it's going to be. It'll be an episode that I've released with somebody or not. Maybe it'll just be me talking. I don't know. But it's going to be good for sure because it's an episode of onefjef. And as you all know, by this point, every episode of onefjef is a wonderful episode of onefjef. Except for one, but I'm not going to tell you which one. They can't all be winners. Anyway, things in Mexico City are fine, if you're wondering. The weather's nice. It hasn't rained nearly as much as I was led to believe it would. Everybody said, it rains so much in the summertime. And don't get me wrong, it's rained. But maybe this is an unusually light, rainy season. But it has not rained every day by any means. Maybe it has, like a tiny, tiny bit. But it's not been like schedule-altering rain, right? And I'm kind of disappointed, to be honest, because I was kind of looking forward to schedule-altering rain. And when it does rain, when there are these big storms that come through, I kind of enjoy it because, I can sit here in my apartment and look out the window and watch the rain pour down, and it's very exciting. And lightning everywhere, crazy electrical storms here when they happen. But I'm told that September, August are rainier months, although the metrics don't really support that. But we shall see. But it is fun here at my new apartment to be able to look out over the city and see the clouds developing into storms. It satiates the little meteorologist in me. And it's interesting. I've yet to find a single app or website or anything that accurately has any seeming idea of what the weather's going to be like here in Mexico City on any particular day. The temperatures are, right-ish, but the rain forecast, it's like nobody has any idea. And I know there's still Doppler radar here, but not nearly as much. And I guess I didn't really appreciate how much more weather infrastructure there is in the United States and I guess Canada. I don't know, maybe. Or maybe I'm wrong about that, but I get the impression there's not nearly as much weather infrastructure here. And I don't know if infrastructure is the right word, but I'm going with it. I think it's also just a very difficult place, Mexico City, to forecast the weather because it's, we're at 7,200 feet, 7,400 feet and surrounded by mountains. So I think it's somewhat unpredictable. And I think that depending on where you are living, the forecast could be correct that day or could not be because I think it's like San Francisco in that sense. It's very hyper local. Like it could be pouring rain like 10 blocks away and be beautiful, not beautiful, but cloudy right where I am. So, but there have been a few nights where it's just been I think it was 4 or 5 nights ago. It was just raining all night, lightning, thunder. I loved it. So who knows? But the words rainy season, the descriptor rainy season does not feel accurate to me to describe the summer in Mexico City at this point. Yes, it does rain, but it doesn't feel like a rainy season per se, because it doesn't rain until 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock. And during the day, right now, it's beautiful blue sky, sunny. I mean, it's gorgeous out. 75 degrees, whatever. 22, 23 Celsius, something like that? Yeah. And I'm indoors. And that's a paradox I've learned to live with. Not a paradox. I think I overused that word. It's a thing that I've had to get used to. And that is that, I think I've mentioned this, but when I was living in Ohio, the weather in Ohio is very changing, one day it'll be cloudy, one day it'll be sunny, one day it'll be whatever, rainy, whatever it is, snowy. So when it's a sunny day, when it's a beautiful sunny day and you get up, you're like, well, I'm going to go out and do something because it's a beautiful day. But here, it's a beautiful sunny day almost every day when you wake up. So it's like you have to get over this weird guilt that you feel. Like maybe it's just me from Ohio. But it's like, I feel like every time I'm inside when it's beautiful out, I should be out there doing something, enjoying the wonderful weather. But it's every day. So I wonder how people like in LA feel about it, because I feel like it's the similar weather situation in LA. I'll have to talk to some people from LA about this. I went to a TimeLeft dinner. Does anybody know what TimeLeft is? I'm sure some of you do. TimeLeft is this app that came out, 2, 3, 4 years ago. And I did it in Columbus, Ohio when I was there. It's basically like you sign up for the app and you sign up for a dinner, and they basically just put you with like 5 other people, strangers. It's dinner with strangers. But you're like grouped together by, profession or whatever, not the same, to keep it interesting, right? And I did 2 or 3 or 4 in Columbus, and they were fine. It wasn't like mind-blowing. I didn't meet any like lifelong friends. But it was interesting. So then they have it here now, and my friend did it here, and she was like, oh, it was great. We hung out all night. So I was like, oh, I should try that when I get back. So I signed up for one of the dinners, and I went, this was last week, and, you can put your language preference. So I just put Spanish and English because I kind of know Spanish. Not very well, but I kind of do. I ended up getting grouped for dinner with everybody, all Mexican people who just spoke Spanish. So it was difficult. I didn't really understand a lot. I didn't communicate a lot. I understood a little. And some of them spoke a little English, so they would try. But they were all very impressed that I'd only been learning Spanish for about 6 months. So that made me feel good. But it's exhausting. That's the thing that I always remember. Trying to understand a different language, it makes your brain work like 3 or 4 times as hard. And you don't realize it until you're like an hour or 2 in, and you're like, oh, I'm just fucking exhausted. I'm just exhausted from listening and trying to communicate in a language that I don't speak very well. I'm sure it gets easier, but it was still a fun dinner, more or less, más o menos. I'm doing it again, but I signed up for English speaking, which I'm hoping means that there will be some people who speak a little Spanish, so that, it'd be nice to have language exchange, right? Anyway, I guess that's about it of what's going on here. I could go on, but then we get into a whole full episode, and I don't even know I still got to figure out what episode I'm going to be playing after I talk right now. But don't worry, I'll do it. I'll get through this. Anyway, what do you have to do now, Jeff? I have to go return an Amazon package, and it's a great story, so I'll tell it to you before I go here. I enjoy a smoothie in the morning. I do enjoy a smoothie, and my last apartment here had a blender. And there was a blender here too, but the blender, when I tried to use it the first time, it did not. It worked, but the blending container had a profound leak in it, so it made a mess all over the floor. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? I cannot make a smoothie without a blender of some sort. So I went on to Amazon.mx, which is interestingly not Amazon.com. It's not, I don't know how it's affiliated with Amazon. It's a strange partnership with Amazon Mexico, but doesn't matter. And I found it's different products for sure. And so I found a smoothie blender, like a small one. And I was like, oh, it's only, 250 pesos. That's like whatever, 20, 30 bucks. No, it's only like $12 or $15. Wow, it was cheap. Well, that explains everything, doesn't it? Because it's a piece of crap. I got this thing, and it is a piece of absolute garbage to a degree that's like it shouldn't even have been made as a product. It's just a waste. But some of the reviews, they seem happy. But then how can you don't trust reviews anymore? Who trusts reviews, even in Mexico? And here's the funny thing. I wrote a review about this thing, for Amazon to warn other people because there weren't a ton of reviews, which was my mistake for buying a product with not a lot of reviews. But I thought I should warn other potential, purchasers of this piece of crap blender. And this has happened twice now. And I wrote a pretty solid review. It was not nice because it's a piece of crap blender. So I was honest. And a few days later, I get an email from Amazon.mx that says, your review was rejected because it was, I think, too mean. Like, they don't allow really mean reviews on Mexican Amazon. So I'm just not going to bother writing reviews anymore. But I am going to return this piece of crap blender today. So that's exciting for me. And it's exciting for you, and it's not exciting for the blender company because they're probably getting a lot of returns based on the quality of their product. I imagine a lot of people just don't return it because it's only, 250 pesos. And they're like, well, whatever. It's like, I don't have time to walk to the place where I have to get it returned at. But I do have time, and I'm going to get my 250 pesos back. Damn it. The end of that story. Did you enjoy it? I hope you really did. And finally, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I mentioned that I did hire a lawyer to try to recover my deposit from my last apartment. That was about 2 weeks ago. He sent a strongly worded legal letter demanding, a demand letter, I guess they call it. And no response to that at all. And then I emailed the lawyer, I guess it was last Monday, and was like, hey, what do we do now if he's not responding? And he's like, okay, I'll call him. I'll try calling him. So I don't know what's going on, but it's not looking good, my friends. It's looking like I may not get my deposit back, which is okay, but it makes me angry when the bad people win. And I'm not saying that my former landlord is a bad person necessarily, but in this case, he is. And I don't like to be screwed over like that because I'm legally right here. But the question becomes, how much money do I spend to recover 21,000 pesos? I don't know. It's a decision I have to make. But for now, I'm just going to play this wonderful, from the archive, from the vault episode of onefjef. It's a great episode. It's one of my favorites. It's got highs, it's got lows, it's got sidewayses, and all sorts of different directions that I think you're really going to enjoy. I know you're going to enjoy it. You will. You will enjoy it. And I'll be back in about 2 weeks with a brand new episode of onefjef. Until then, continue thriving, my friends. Be well. Be happy. Take a deep breath. And let that shit go. How did you find out that these doctors were, sexually, open?
By having sex with them.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
At least some of them.
Case study. This is episode 28 of onefjef.
28 sits at a strange crossroads, a perfect number that ancient mathematicians treated with awe, and the capstone of a 4-cycle run, long seen as the threshold into real adulthood. It shows up in the body's lunar-leaning 28-day rhythms that shaped early timekeeping and folk magic. And in Kabbalah, it matches Koch, potential, giving 28 the feel of a quiet engine number, one that completes a cycle and hands you the power to move forward.
Hello, my friends. Jeff Taylor here, back in my makeshift recording studio here in Columbus, Ohio. I did not have a guest for this week's episode either, but fortunately, I heard from Chris Ryan earlier today, and he said he's going to release the episode that I recorded with him for his podcast tomorrow, and I asked him if he could send me the audio so I could release it on my podcast as well, and he graciously agreed. So I'm going to release this conversation on my podcast tomorrow, because it is more of a conversation than it is an interview, and I think it suits both of our podcasts in that sense. So, in a sense, my guest today is Chris Ryan.
Chris Ryan is an author and podcaster best known for Sex at Dawn, where he argues that early humans lived far more cooperatively and less monogamously than we assume today. He has a PhD in psychology, a taste for dismantling tidy modern narratives, and a podcast called Tangentially Speaking, where he follows his curiosity into conversations about culture, evolution, and how mismatched we often are with the world we built.
I'm truly grateful to have had the opportunity to meet and be on Chris Ryan's podcast. I've been a fan for several years, and it just kind of randomly happened. Life is random sometimes. Patreon subscribers, thank you so much. I appreciate your continued support as always. I'll be posting some more exclusive content for you in the next week or 2 or 3. If you yourself would like to support the podcast, help me buy some more Christmas gifts, help me get by in this holiday season without a job, please go to patreon.com/onefjef and sign up for as little as $5 a month. $5 a month, that's nothing. But please don't use your iPhone to do it. Subscribe on the Patreon page because Apple takes 30% of all donations made through the Patreon app because Apple is greedy. Sorry, Apple, you are. I hope that doesn't hurt my algorithm. Help support the podcast, help support me, and get some exclusive content. Patreon.com/onefjef. Thank you very, very much. And now you can pause the podcast for a moment, go to your computer, and do that. Okay, thank you very much. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this conversation with Chris as much as I enjoyed having it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Here is me and Chris Ryan sitting outside his house in Crestone, Colorado, overlooking the San Luis Valley.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting in the morning sun here in Crestone, Colorado with one F Jeff, one F Jeff Taylor. And this will be an interesting podcast because I don't remember exactly what it is that I found so interesting about you when we met for a beer. But I do remember thinking, I should do a podcast with that guy. He's interesting. I did watch your film.
Which one?
Didn't you send me coverage?
The 9/11 one, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I remember the quote. I wrote down the quote, too. Remember, you were asking me what inspired me to make that, and there was a Burroughs quote. What was it? Sexual arousal results from the repetition and impact of image. It was kind of and that in the movie Crash by Cronenberg. You ever see that one? People who get sexually aroused by car crashes.
I've never seen that.
It's people hate it, but I actually loved it. But it's not a well-liked Cronenberg film by any means.
Wasn't there a film called Crash that won the Oscar?
Yeah, not that one.
I've seen that one.
That was a controversial one.
That was controversial.
Yeah, but this one's controversial, but nobody saw it, so it can't be. I mean, they're like, blood and semen mixing on the car seat. It's
right.
The book's actually even better.
Cronenberg's a little intense.
He can be, sure.
Yeah. Okay, but let's talk about that quote a little bit, because I watched the film and it's very interesting. It's a couple, it opens with what seems to be erotic failure.
Yeah.
The guy can't get it up or can't come or something.
Yeah.
And so there's this sort of like impasse and awkwardness and all that. And then 9/11 happens and he finds his mojo watching the Twin Towers come down, and then the drama ensues. But so Burroughs quote that eroticism or erotic charge comes from repeated viewing of an image.
Yeah. Repetition and impact of image.
But what image? Not just any old image.
Right.
I mean, an image of a naked woman, okay, but. And also, okay, so two things. What kind of image? And also, I would think that would be less applicable to women than to men, given that women's sexuality is less visual than men's.
Sure, I agree with that. I mean, I think it was that quote combined with the somewhat phallic nature of the World Trade Center and the fact that they were playing it, that week or two. I mean, it was all day, every day. They were
America under attack.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like literally the whole week you couldn't watch anything. But the world.
The fragmented statement appears to be referencing the widespread media coverage following the September 11, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center, indicating that news related to the
Fuck
event.
you! Shut the fuck up! What happened?
You got to leave that in.
That's weird.
AI just chimes in.
That's weird. It kept recording while that happened.
Well, I hope it got it.
That was very strange. Okay, well, if it's recorded, I guess we'll leave it.
Yeah, you gotta leave that one in.
Fucking technology is jumping out.
AI's invading your podcast.
That's never happened before. Yeah, I was in Spain when it happened, so I wasn't subjected to that.
Oh, well, good for you.
But it's interesting to think that the collapse of the World Trade Center would be phallic. I would think that would cause more erectile dysfunction than
Well,
than erectile.
yeah, I guess that's about. They could probably make it into some sort of an erectile dysfunction commercial if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
Do you remember
Soon.
when they first opened the World Trade Center, the new museum, the new tower, and the museum in there? At the very beginning, they sold a United States shaped cheese platter, and it had like the dots where the planes had hit.
On a cheese platter?
Yeah, they got rid of it pretty quickly. I guess they're collector's items now.
I don't know.
It was a very misguided.
How could you collect a cheese platter? That would.
But I mean, just to use that 9/11 on a cheese platter, it seems like if you bring that out at a party, it's not going to lift the mood. It's going to be like, oh, well, that's a.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like the movie?
Yeah. It was disturbing.
Sure.
Certainly.
My mom liked it, which made me happy.
That's
My
good.
dad, not so much. Yeah.
What was your dad's complaint?
He never really said, he didn't really complain about it. I think he was just troubled by just the whole thing. My mom's quote was, that I'll always remember, she's like, honey, you nailed it. You nailed it. And I was like, oh, I'll take that, Mom. I'll take it.
Well, so what do you think? To me, it was, it kind of spoke to the Freudian, eros and thanatos, the death impulse and the erotic impulse being intertwined.
Sure.
And it made me think about when I worked in hospitals in Spain. I found, in Spain, a lot of doctors are women. And I really enjoyed working in hospitals and hanging out with doctors because they seemed to be uninhibited sexually.
Really?
And we talked about, why are you so uninhibited compared to the normal Spanish person? And generally their take was when you're around death, you lose sexual inhibition.
Huh.
Because there's something about sex that's it's about life, right? Eros is life
It's all
force.
there,
And
yeah.
so when you're around death, there's an impulse to cultivate the life force.
Huh. How did you find out that these doctors were, sexually, open?
By having sex with them.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
At least some of them.
Case study. Right.
The women. Yeah. No, I was doing research around, I was doing a PhD research where I was specifically studying the doctors who deal with a lot of death. So oncologists and intensive care physicians. And so I was interviewing them, and then I was teaching English, so I would focus my teaching. So I'd take students who were working in specializations that I found interesting, and so I met a lot of them, and we talked a lot, and it's interesting. And then I've spoken to other people who talk about war being very erotic.
Right. I could see that.
Anything where there's a lot of drama and life or death stuff seems to reduce inhibition and increase libido.
I should have had you come speak at one of the Q&As for the film. You could have explained it better than I did.
Wow.
It's funny.
That's just my take on it.
No, it's an interesting take. I had a lot of interesting reactions to that film. The people did walk out of the theater. People would write me. I got emails. People would write me, and some people were once you finish a film, it's not yours anymore. So whatever I think it is, and some people's interpretation of it was really there were some very unique interpretations of the film, but it didn't do terribly well on the festival circuit. We got into a lot of erotic film festival, like the Porn Film Festival in Berlin or something, which is very big, apparently. And we were in the Cine Kink, and that's a traveling erotic, and we played right after this. I've never experienced this before in my life, but our block, I don't know, right before our movie, there was we walk into the theater and it's just a big, full screen, just fisting.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not surprised it didn't do well because it's not a porn film. It's not there is eroticism, but it's
not sexy.
It's complex.
Yeah.
Did you get accused of making light of 9/11?
Yeah, and I could always my argument there was well, is it I'm just pointing a finger. A lot of it was also about the mass media's oversaturation of the. So a lot of my argument was well, no, it's actually what I was pointing a finger at is more the mass media. Is it me or is it the mass media that was playing it over and over and over and over and over?
Right. Yeah.
But it wasn't a lot of that actually.
Yeah.
But it almost got into Sundance, so that was. It was good to find out that it almost got in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the only film you've made, or?
No, I've made. A handful. The one I made after that was that got into Sundance, and that was I'd gone through a horrible breakup with the actress that was in coverage, actually.
Oh.
And the actor who was in coverage went through a horrible breakup as well. So we got together and just decided we're going to make some very quick and easy thing, improvised, and had no real intent to make it anything. We were going to make a feature, but we never finished it. So I just made it into a short, spent $500, and edited it a lot, and then submitted it to a bunch of festivals. One festival took it, then nobody else, and then Sundance took it.
And what's it about?
It's basically just a guy in his mid to late 30s. It's a very it's more of a mood piece but it's a guy in his mid 30s just kind of struggling to come to terms with the end of his relationship that he thought was going to go on, and trying to figure out what his life looks like post relationship and understand the nature of the breakup and why and so forth and so on.
And then he takes flight classes and flies a plane into a building.
There you go. Yeah, that's coverage part 2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The sequel.
That could be a prequel, actually, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Because we had a jokey idea to do a sequel. We had all sorts of. That was a funny film to make because, the jokes that we would make, disaster baiting was the term we came up with for this.
Disasterbation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is an erotic component to what's going on. I know you worked in politics for a while, so I wanted to get some of your thoughts on the political scene. But, as we're speaking, it's Tuesday?
21st, maybe?
After the No Kings marches on Sunday, which Trump responded to by releasing an AI film of himself bombing American cities and shit.
Yeah, amazing times we live in. Who... Honestly, at a certain point, I feel like you just have to it's a sad laughter, but it's a laughter still. How far off the rails can this country go? It's scary. I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like there's so many things happening. They say they're flooding the zone. So
with shit.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it really works. It works very effectively because the things that happened even 3 months ago, it's I don't even remember a lot of those because it's one thing after the other. Underneath it, although, I think I was talking to a friend of mine from the Lincoln Project, my podcast a couple weeks ago, and she was basically saying that Trump is more like a cudgel, right? It's really easy for the Democrats to use Trump. The organization we worked, Lincoln Project that we worked for, who I'm a little bit leery of saying, but because I signed an NDA, but if I don't say anything bad about them, I think we're in good shape. The argument was always democracy versus Trump, right? But what even is democracy in America anymore? Do we have a democracy? When's the last time we had a real democracy in America? And it's Trump is a very convenient figure to make the overall enemy, but really it's a systemic problem. It's a systemic collapse problem. And I think the Democrats are almost just as comfortable using Trump as a cudgel as the Republicans are to use him as their tool to get everything they've ever wanted.
But it's not everything they've ever wanted. The wants are new, right? What Republicans used to want was conservative.
Yeah.
And Trump's anything but conservative.
I think some of them, sure. But I think there's a certain handful of them that have had a long list of things, what's Project 2025 or whatever it is, have had a long list of things that they wanted to get done, and they just needed a clever buffoon to put in there as the figurehead, and then they can behind the scenes just kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah, similar to the Reagan administration.
Yeah.
Another sort of TV screen presence to attract attention while we do our things.
Right, that's actually interesting. I think this is like times 10. I mean, it's crazy that they had the same, isn't it both, Make America Great Again was both of their slogans, wasn't it?
It was Morning in America.
Morning in America.
Same thing.
Same kind of a
I don't
thing.
remember any baseball hats,
Right,
but
no.
there's a lot of the same kind of racist rhetoric.
I went to the Trump store in Branson, Missouri. I was on my road trip across the country, and I went to went to Branson, because you've ever been to Branson, Missouri?
Never been
It's
there.
something to see. It's something to see. It's like a combination of of Las Vegas, Niagara Falls. I mean, it's in the Ozarks, so it's like, it's pretty. But, I think there's like 30 mini golf courses in the area. There's like a whole replica of the Titanic. It's a strange town. And remember Yakov Smirnoff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he was dead. I didn't even know he was alive. He's got a comedy club there called Yakov's. I was going to go see him, but he wasn't doing that night.
Russia's not funny anymore.
I know, what's he doing now? Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
question. Like, how is he doing? Anyway.
Yakov Smirnoff. Wow.
Yeah, and they have more theater seats than New York City in Branson, Missouri.
And what, it's like Grand Old Opry kind of shit?
It's like washed. It's a lot of washed up. I think old stars but yeah, I think it's like after you go on the Grand Ole Opry, maybe you go to Branson and just do a run there. Yeah.
Like you're not up to Vegas.
Yeah, something like that.
And you're kind of like Jeff Foxworthy.
But your appeal is there. Like it's a different appeal than Vegas. Like it's a different, it's the South, so Southern Missouri. Anyway, there's a Trump store there. There's actually two. So I was like, I gotta, you don't know how many times you get to go to a Trump store, and it was something else. I mean, it was crowded. There's an animatronic Trump outside, like waving at you, all sorts of, and all the hats, Gulf of America, blah blah blah. And then the one hat that I noticed, but they're all Trump slogans, make
spelled with an O, Gulf of America,
right, Barron for president.
Great.
And then one of them just said titties. But it was in it had an American red, white, and blue.
This is a shirt?
No, it was just a hat.
Oh, a hat.
It just said titties. Yeah.
Titties.
Just titties. Yeah.
Well, how can you argue with that?
No, it was the only one that was unrelated to politics for Trump, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Almost bought it, but thought, no, $40 for a titties hat.
And where are you going to wear it?
When am I going to wear that?
Yeah.
For Halloween, maybe, but even then, yeah.
What are you going as?
Right. I mean,
a Hooters manager?
I don't even know if a Hooters manager would wear. I mean, that's a little. Some of them would, I would think. And then there's a Jesus store right down the street from the Trump store, which I went to as well.
A Jesus.
It's like
store.
Jesus merch, right? It's all Jesus merch, and it's like very similar to the Trump store. Very surprisingly similar to the Trump store, actually. It's just a different character.
So, have you been paying attention to politics your whole life? Or, I mean, you mentioned that you worked for the Lincoln Project. We can talk about that or not, depending on your comfort level. But was your work with them because of an interest in politics, or it was just a job and you're a video editor and there you go? Yeah,
it really kind of randomly happened. I've certainly, I've paid attention to politics for a good portion of my life, on and off. I mean, during Obama, I didn't really, because you didn't really, I guess, have to as much because it was just,
kind of normal.
But yeah, no, I got during COVID, it was 2020, I got laid off. I was working in marketing at Hollister, like the clothing. We're selling clothing, jeans to teenagers.
Right, Hollister, which is a tiny town in California.
Yeah, and they've had it's not based on that. That's not at all what the clothing brand is based on. I think there was some sort of a lawsuit settlement or something.
Yeah, I remember reading something about that.
Yeah. Well, Abercrombie and Fitch has had their own share of problems, and that's the parent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I got laid off from there during that summer, and a buddy of mine, and this is when the Lincoln Project was just starting to get really big, and a buddy of mine from New York called me, and he was like, "Oh, I know a guy at the Lincoln Project. They're looking for somebody." And weirdly enough, I'd already been making weird Trump mashups. I made just weird videos for the Lincoln Project, like funny, weird, satirical, blah blah blah. And I'd already made some weird things. When I don't really know why, but it felt, it felt fun. I don't know. Anyway, so I already had work to show him, and so yeah, I was only supposed to work there for 3 months. And it was crazy. I've never had so much, as a video person, you don't, it's about how many people see your thing, right, to a great degree. And like the first thing I made was like, goes up online, it's like 1 million people have watched it in 5 hours. And it was just like, whoa, dude. So that was fun. And, yeah, but no, never intended to get to politics, and don't plan to do that again. 4.5 years was enough.
Why is that?
It's a complicated question, but I would say primarily because my job required me to like watch. I've seen more Trump speeches than probably most people on the planet.
Right.
Like I know his bits. I would watch him hone a routine. The toilets don't flush. He would hone that and get laughs from that. He's a stand-up comic at heart when he does these rallies. And watching CPAC, CPAC, I'd have to watch the whole weekend would be blocked off to just watch it. Yeah.
That'll rot your brain.
Right. I mean, so I know a lot. Like, we're well familiar with who Charlie Kirk was. Like, I knew all these people and it just became hard to live in that darkness. Yeah. Beyond that, like not even just watching the right-wing content, it was more like just experiencing the, I feel like, rot and grift that is politics in general, from the inside to a degree. Right. Was, yeah.
So your experience, and I know we have an NDA to
I'm walking
to
on a fine line here. Yeah.
But I'm not talking about the Lincoln Project specifically, just your general insider's view of politics did not leave you inspired and hopeful.
No. I mean, no. I feel like a lot of politics is a grift. There's a lot of people making a lot of money off of politics, and I think that's the heart of the problem with our political system in general is money. Yeah. There's I think it was Missouri or Montana. I heard they're actually the state is trying. You've heard this, that they're trying to basically say the corporations can't donate to, and that could hold up because the Supreme Court has a lot of precedent on states' rights. Like
right, and that what was the Supreme Court case that that said money is free speech and Citizens United. Yeah, that's based on states' regulations of corporations, and so Montana is saying, well, then we can regulate that corporations are not allowed to spend money on politics, and apparently that's totally within the Supreme Court judgment, so it doesn't even need to go back to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Although that's interesting.
Should they find a way to make it?
Yeah.
Because my concern is like, in order to get money out of politics, you got to find a candidate who's an anti-corporate candidate, but 95% of the time the candidate with the most money wins. So how do you even get the money? You need to find some insanely wealthy, progressive to actually run. But I don't know any insanely wealthy progressives.
Who's willing to risk his life?
Right.
Because if he gets close to winning,
then the powers that be will move.
They're not going to let. Yeah, they're not going to let anything that would truly change the system,
right,
into power. That Frank Zappa line that politics is the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex.
Right.
I think about that a lot.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. As cynical and jaded as I am about American politics, it does feel like what's happening now is something qualitatively different.
For sure.
Obama was blowing up wedding parties in Yemen, but he wasn't releasing videos of himself shitting on Chicago,
Right. Yeah, I mean, it seems
like... There's a contempt to... And also, it seems to me that they've already decided there aren't going to be more elections, so they don't give a fuck.
It seems very much like they're trying to make this a one-party country. And whether they can do that or not, I don't know. Like, there is some buffoonery in that administration, fortunately.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like there's a pilot flying the plane who is blind, drunk, and has no idea how to fly a plane.
But yet I think there's a few people in there that aren't blind, drunk, or anything like that, and those are the ones that are really pulling the levers. Like, what's that, Stephen Miller?
Yeah.
That guy's a demon. And he's the person who's doing most of this immigration madness. But yeah, it certainly seems like, and you try to think of times in history that have been similar to how bad this is. And like, I'm not very good with the history, I don't know. But like, what, like early 20s, something like that? I mean, there were bad periods in America. My question, I guess, is when I think about it, is like, how do we get out of this? Like, how do we return to normal? What does that even mean? How does that happen? I don't see the country being able to do that. I think that it'll return to something, but whatever it is, isn't going to be what we define as normal, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like we need to hit rock bottom. You know, when I think about times of significant change, like Teddy Roosevelt going after the monopolies and the big, railroad companies and all that in the early 20th century. You know, the country was at the brink of revolution. And then you think about, the sort of regulations coming into effect in the 1920s after Upton Sinclair wrote The Jungle, describing the meat packing plants and the rats and the feces and all the shit. And then, okay, we'll do some regulation.
Right.
And then FDR with the New Deal, or was it the
New Deal? Yeah.
Yeah. Great Society was Lyndon Johnson. It's like, I think the country needs to be on the verge of revolution before and then they'll just give you enough to quiet you down.
Right. I mean, it's also maybe a war of some sort. I mean, some sort of a catastrophic event to cause a reset.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we'd have to live through that catastrophic event in order for the reset to happen. Or if Trump dies, I mean, he's never going to die, though. He's going to live till that motherfucker's going to live till he's like 100, probably.
I think he's like Lassie. I think they've got like 10 Trumps in the green room waiting to
You might be right. Or if after he dies, they do like a Weekend at Bernie's thing where they just carrying him around.
Got so much makeup you wouldn't notice.
But who jumps in? I don't know. That's what people say. It's like when he's gone, they don't really have anybody to jump in. But I don't know that I agree with that. I feel like.
Well, but like you said, he's got so much stage presence and a twisted kind of charisma. I don't see anyone else in the wings who can command that kind of attention.
No.
J.D. Vance is a weaselly little fuck.
He really is.
Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
He doesn't inspire any kind of fear or admiration. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the hell's happening, man. That's why I live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a solid idea. I kind of want to get out of the country, but we'll see if I can make that happen.
Well, weren't you living in Mexico City for a while?
I was like there for a month and a half or so earlier this year after I lost the job. I loved it. I'd never been to Mexico City. Had no idea what to expect, but boy, something going on down there. I really liked it.
Yeah. It's a
beautiful
nice
place, wonderful people. The warmth of Latino culture really is like somewhat like as an American, it's like at first it's like a little off-putting, and then you're like, oh, they really are that friendly. They're just, I really like that. The vibes are better.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Mexico. I like it a lot. It's hard. It's always hard for me to wrap my head around the evil Mexican assassins and, the cartels and all that, because my experience of Mexican people is like so kind and kind of simple in a good way, but I guess that's similar to my experience of Africans as well. And if things go wrong in Africa, shit gets really crazy.
Or even in America. I mean, I find most people I meet when I'm driving across the country, everybody's super friendly, but there's certainly a darkness.
Yeah, I read something recently, I think it was on Substack, somebody posted, if you want to hate America, watch the news. If you want to love it, drive across the country.
It's true. I drove across the country and I met a lot of wonderful people, actually. Yeah. I'd never done that before. It's a large country we have here.
You've never driven across the country?
No, I mean, when I was young, we drove with a family trip from Ohio to Aspen, but never just all the way over to California and then down through. And I was unemployed. I'm still relatively unemployed, and I was like, when else am I going to have a chance to do this? And yeah, it was great. 50 days, 49 days.
Well, okay. That wasn't an interstate highway drive. That was a meandering drive.
Yeah, and I wasn't moving the whole time. I was staying with some friends in like San Jose for a while. I stayed with my sister up in San Francisco, and but yeah, and then went to Bogota for a week. Been to Bogota?
Never.
Traffic problems, real bad traffic. I think it's like the worst traffic in like any major city in the world. It's really pretty bad.
Yeah, no, I always wanted to go to Colombia, but when I was doing a lot of traveling in the 80s, Colombia was, off limits. People were getting kidnapped at the airport. You wouldn't even get to your hotel.
Yeah. Yeah, like in Medellin, they say it's a beautiful city now, but that was like the headquarters there back in the day.
Yeah, no, beautiful city. I almost went 4 or 5 years ago. I was planning a trip there, and I had a friend whose wife, I guess his wife's Venezuelan, but first he knows people in Colombia. Anyway, he was like, hey, I have a friend who has an apartment in Medellin, and let me ask him, if you can stay there. I know he's in London now, whatever. And he got back to me. He's like, yeah, hey, you can stay in his apartment. He said, it's free, nobody's there, and the doorman will let you in and all that. And so I got that far into the trip. Anyway, we ended up not going. I forget, some family shit came up or something. But later I learned that his friend was the ex-mayor of Medellin. So, like, what kind of apartment did I turn down?
Yeah, you could turn down the most
nice apartment.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
although, also, do you want to be staying in the ex-mayor's apartment?
Yeah, it's a complicated. What year was this?
5-6 years ago.
Oh, all right. So it was, not nearly as dangerous.
I think maybe it was like early COVID. Maybe that's what came up.
Oh,
like
right.
It got, yeah, because we were pretty far into planning it. We were going to go to Cuba first and then Colombia.
Oh, I'd love to go to Cuba.
Yeah, me too.
I want to go to North Korea.
I do not.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I lived in Korea, like South Korea, for a couple years when I was younger, and I'm just somehow I'm weirdly fascinated. Like, I've read a lot of books. I'm just weirdly fascinated with, it's the most isolated country in the world. Yeah, and something about it just is really interesting to me. Yeah. I mean, I watched all these videos. Like, I learned. Yeah, it's the history of that country. Boy, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, you could talk with Dennis Rodman about it.
Right. I remember that was a while back when he became friends with Kim Jong.
Which Kim Jong was it? I mean, what a world. I feel like the world's gone into like someday people are going to look back and say, oh, those poor people in the early 20th century, they had no idea what was happening, but now we understand that there are like realms of space, that the solar system is moving through space, and there are realms in which the laws of probability change.
Right.
I feel like we moved into a realm where things that used to be very unlikely have become much more likely.
Right.
I mean, there must be a way to test that with, random number generators or some shit. But it just feels like there were like crazy, I forget what Super Bowl it was, but like one team was 28 points down in the fourth quarter and they came back and won. It was like, what?
Right.
That doesn't happen. And then there was, I remember, I mean, this is more science-based, but I remember there was a hurricane coming up the west coast of Mexico, and it was Category 5, and I read somewhere, and they said, well, the only reason it's Category 5 is it doesn't go up to 6. So it's Category 5 plus, It's like the things that used to be a once in 1,000-year storm, they're happening every 10 years now. And of course, that's science, but I feel like it's happening in other things too. Just
the simulation got reprogrammed or something, or we got stuck in a different simulation of some sort.
I don't think it's a simulation, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some energetic component. Well, I know there are energetic components to reality that we can't perceive or measure. So something yet to be discovered that's going to explain why shit got so weird so quickly.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if we actually had a scientific paper that came out with like, this is why things got weird, and I think COVID, that was part of it. But
was
yeah,
that cause or effect though?
interesting.
And have there been other periods like that? Like,
It seems like every 50 years or so, there's like somehow sort of a global upheaval that happens, like in the 60s and like the 20s. It seems like but this one seems like it's more significant. But of course, everybody who's alive always thinks that their period of time is more bizarre and twisted than any other period, and maybe that's true.
Yeah, it's like a spiraling thing.
Right.
It's cyclical, but also incremental.
And I think the internet is a big part of why this one's so much, or at least feels so much more, because when you have media connecting the entire world and all the information at the fingertips, and you can find people who have the same crazy beliefs as you and connect on the internet. I think it really, yeah,
there's an accelerating effect there.
Yeah, like that flat Earth thing. Big fan of that. That's one of my favorite things to come out of the last 10 years of nuttiness. The flat earthers, yeah.
Is that recent, or has that always
that's
been
been around
there?
for that started to blow up about 5. COVID, I think, did a little bit, but I think even before that, I think it was 5 or 10 years ago, that started to become more of a talked about thing. You know what I mean? And yeah, they believe, we live on a flat disk, and there's an ice wall. That there's an ice wall around the edge of the Earth, so that's why you can't get to. So you don't fall off, I guess. And it's biblical. Some of the people are biblical. It's like a firmament. There's a great documentary about these people, and at the very end they do an experiment where they shoot a laser across a giant lake to see, and the experiment proves that the Earth isn't flat, and they're like, and then a movie ends, and it's like, oops, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not dissimilar to the people who, predict the end times, and then the date passes.
It was just supposed to happen. Yeah, what was the end times? What was it? With the one where the rapture was supposed to happen 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
See that a Saturday, 2 or 3 Saturdays ago. Yeah, the internet was going crazy.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
You got to get on
I
that.
missed it.
Yeah. But yeah, it didn't happen. But I did see somebody on whatever, Instagram or something, had made inflatable balloons of people and put them above their house to make it look like there were people getting pulled up into the sky to fuck with people who thought.
You ever watch 6 Feet Under?
Yeah, I love that show.
Remember how each episode begins with a death?
Mm-hmm.
There was one where, it opens, this woman's listening, she's driving somewhere, and she's got her car radio on, and it's some Christian thing, and it's talking about, the rapture, and are you going to be saved, and blah, blah, blah. And then it cuts, and it's guys in a warehouse, and they've got all these inflated sex dolls that they're loading into a truck to take to a convention or something.
Right, and the back of the truck opens up.
And the dolls go up, and the woman sees them and
loses her
thinks
mind.
it's the rapture, and she crashes her car.
her
Nice. Yeah.
That was a great show.
That was a great show.
The last episode, I thought that was, some people said they didn't like it, but I thought the way they ended it was about as perfect as you could end a show about what that was about, showing everybody getting older and... Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Yeah, I think probably the best 3 or 4 minutes of television that I've ever seen was in that show. It was, I'll include, if I remember, I'll include the video in the show notes for this episode. It's when Nate dies, and his brother, I forget his brother's name.
I forget.
The gay guy who later played Dexter.
Yeah.
He's in the hospital room with him, and there's a TV on. And what happens is Nate's lying there, and he says he's just had brain surgery, I think. Yeah. He had a stroke or something, and his head's all bandaged, and he's lying there, and he's watching this nature show, and the birds are diving into the water. And he says, I'm so tired. And his brother says, well, just sleep. I'll stay here. I'll be here when you wake up. Everything's cool. And then you see Nate's eyes close, and you go into his consciousness, basically. It's kind of like he's having a dream. And the dream, in the dream, he wakes up but he's him, but he's not sick. It's a different life.
Right.
And there's a car honking is what wakes him up. This beep, 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 beep. And he wakes up and he goes downstairs, and it's his brother, who in the real life, in the show, is this very trim gay guy, always dressed with a suit and tie and all that. And but in this life, he's like a kind of a hip surfer dude. He's like, yo, man, come on, we're going surfing. What are you doing? He's like, oh, I was asleep. And he get in the van, man. And he jumps in the back of the van, and their dad is driving, who's dead,
Right.
whose death starts the show, right? And they go, and I won't go through the whole thing, but it's so hallucinatory and so fascinating. It captures the logic of the dream state better than anything I've ever seen.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and watch that.
Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so moving. And the genius of it is that, your innate's consciousness, your innate's dream, but at some point it shifts into his brother's consciousness. And so when at the end of it, it's his brother who wakes up, and you realize you're in his mind now.
Huh.
So there's like this mind meld. You pass from one consciousness to another
Right.
in the dream that they're both having.
Right.
It's fucking crazy. It's interesting. In Spanish,
It was a great show.
you don't say I dreamt of you. You say I dreamt with you.
Huh. There's a lot of things. I'm trying to learn Spanish now, and there's a lot of things like that are like interesting. I can't think of any offhand, but like the way that, one culture says a sentence, or the way that they express in a thought, as opposed to the way America expresses a thought. It says so much about the way the culture actually,
Yeah, the way they think. Well, Spanish, one really interesting thing is love. You can say love in different ways in Spanish.
Right,
There are
right,
different
right.
kinds of love.
Right. Gusta, amor, right.
Right. Te amo o te quiero.
Sí.
I want you. I love you. Like, you would never say, I don't think you would say to your mother, te quiero, right? That's more of a desire-based love.
Right. And
Whereas te amo is more spiritual.
what would I say to my
heart.
mother? Me gusta?
I like my mother. Yeah. Yeah. A mí me gusta mi madre.
That's the phrase I know well because of the Manu Chao song. It's like the
right.
one, like if I know some of the like Yola Tango, I can remember.
Yeah. Manu Chao's a great artist. I really like his stuff.
Yeah, that was when I was in Thailand. I lived in Korea. I was in Bangkok, and that was where, like, Koh San Road,
Yeah.
And that was, at the time, it was like the 90s. Everybody was playing Manu Chao, and that was where I learned about them.
What were you doing in Korea?
Teaching English, actually. Yeah. That was
In
a trip.
Seoul?
Huh?
In Seoul?
I was in Incheon at first, which is on, where the airport is and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I eventually was in Seoul for like, I think a year and a half. Just kind of freelancing. I was with a school in Incheon, and then I started freelancing, like just doing different, which was really interesting. Is you'd go into people's houses. One woman would just pay me like, I don't know how much money, but just to like hang out with her two little boys and just go get ice cream.
Yeah.
Because they just want a white person to come and, but yeah, it was a really interesting experience being the other, like it's such a homogenous country. And I think most Americans don't experience that experience of being the one who doesn't look the same and getting stared at because you don't look the same. And I think it's a good experience for people to have because it puts a lot of things into perspective, It's also kind of annoying after a while, like be on the subway and just getting stared at because I used to take pictures of the people when they would stare at me. I would take my camera out and start. They didn't like that.
How old were you?
I turned 30 there, so I was like between 29 to like 31, 32.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, ate dog. That was interesting. It wasn't very good though. They don't put the signs, don't say, all the restaurants there, it just says, like the pig restaurants, the pork restaurants, just a picture of the pig, the cow restaurants, picture of the cow. There's no picture of the dog for the dog restaurant, but it says like food for the good of the, it's always about the male libido, a lot of these weird foods, and they think that dog is good for like, male libido. And I was hard for like a week after I ate that dog. So, so it's true. It's true.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange thing in Asian cultures that the whole male virility seems to be a huge concern.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we're going to eat ground up tiger bones and bear paws.
Always the weird things that are, it's always
snake.
about. Yeah. Yeah.
It's always about getting it up. It's like, is it, you know, maybe there's so much soy in the diet.
There is a lot of soy.
You know,
and fermented food, yeah.
Yeah. Well, fermented food's okay, but soy is an estrogenic compound. It has a lot of estrogen in it. So too much soy can fuck with your testosterone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, how much soy is too much soy, I guess is the question, because I ate a lot of hummus.
Is there soy in hummus?
Like soybeans, yeah, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's chickpeas. It's chickpeas.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Brains.
No, you're okay.
Brain, I'm all right. Yeah, I don't eat a lot of soybeans, though. I mean, edamame now and again, but...
Yeah, soy, you know, tofu, tempeh.
Oh, right. I'm not a big tofu.
Soy sauce, obviously. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
Something about erections, probably?
No, nothing about erections.
So what's next for you? You're kind of like in a transitional period of your life?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying, you know, I got laid off and I decided to just lean into it. And
you're doing a podcast.
Yeah, I've been meaning to start this podcast for years. And like 10 years ago, I had this thought of like that I've met friends. I was living in New York at the time, and I, you know, had these friends that I met in New York, but I really knew nothing about their lives up until they met me. And so I actually did a bunch of recordings with my friends and was just like, let's sit down and do like just a recording interview. And it was super interesting because you get to know somebody, like their childhood and all that. And I thought, oh, there's something interesting here. But didn't actually do it. And then my nephew, who's 15 now, 15. And he was visiting me this last spring. And, you know, he's a teenager, so we weren't talking a whole lot. But then I was like, do you want to record a podcast? And as soon as he got those headphones on and the mic in front of him, he was opening up like he never had before.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, there's something here. And so yeah, I just tried to I you know, got some friends to do some interviews, and then I got some other people that I just thought were interesting on the internet to come in, and then I did the travel log as I was traveling across the country. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what the podcast is, but generally it's like me trying to find connection after working alone for 4.5 years, and also giving other people a chance to connect, but also exploring the idea of connection. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, but people seem to like it.
What's it called?
onefjef.
onefjef.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't know what to call it, and then somebody was like, you know, because I'm on the internet, my handle is always onefjef, like my website's onefjef, all the,
right.
And so they're like, you should just call it onefjef.
So why do you have one F in your name?
Because I was pretentious when I was in college, and I took the other F off.
Really?
Yeah. And actually, I interviewed a guy on my last episode who's also named Jeff Taylor with one F.
Really?
Yeah, there's actually a few of them. I'm friends on Facebook. Yeah.
Huh.
So anyway, I interviewed him just because it was, you know, it was funny. And he took his off for the same exact reason. He was in college and he was pretentious. He took the other F off. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems ineffective as far as pretentious gestures go.
Yeah, but I've saved a lot of time because I don't have to write that second F.
Yeah.
Like over the years, that adds up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that'll add up.
And it's pronounced the same.
That's why I'm saying it seems like if you want to be pretentious, you need to force people to pronounce something differently.
I mean, as a joke, sometimes I'll be like, no, it's actually
not
Jeff.
Jeff.
You clip it. You've got to clip it.
It's Jeff or something. You know?
Yeah. No, I'm just going to go. It's worked out well because this was like, when I did it, it was like mid 90s. So, and the internet wasn't really a big thing then. But as it turns out, like for my video editing stuff and all that, it's been very great because there's a ton of Jeff Taylors. Right. But, you know, just one F Jeff Taylor's, like, I get the first result.
There aren't that many.
Yeah.
So is your email Jeff with one F Taylor at gmail.com?
Yeah.
Really? You got it?
I got it.
Wow.
Yeah. I was in there early.
The other one F Jeff must be pissed off.
I've had people offer me to buy the URL onefjef.com for like $3,000 and the number's got to be higher than that.
Yeah. Oh, you got the URL too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, sometimes I get annoyed because there'll be like a new platform comes out and I'll have to get like onefjef something else. I'll have to add like 73 because that's the year I was born or something stupid. And that frustrates me because I don't...
You're accustomed to just
Yeah, I want to
being
be
that
the
guy.
only onefjef. But, you know...
It's a sense of entitlement.
Yeah, a little bit,
I'm
yeah.
detecting here, onefjef.
Protecting my brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. That feels dark to say, just protecting my brand, but this is the world we live in right now. Yeah. So yeah, but the podcast has been great because like I'm not good at, you work alone, and I was not great about reaching out to people, and like I live alone in my house, and yeah, it was really isolating, and it's been really good to like, I mean, it feels good to sit down and talk to somebody for an hour or two, and kind of go deep with them, and give them space to tell their story too, because I feel like a lot of people don't. How often do you sit down and like? Are you like forced to sit down and just talk to somebody? Like, we have to continue talking. If this conversation starts to die, we got to keep it going, and that's unlike any other kind of situation, like you're at a bar talking to a friend, the conversation kind of dies out. You're like, all right, well, and yeah, I kind of think that's where it gets into interesting places, when you're like forced to keep going, that's when you start to get interesting.
You ever hitchhike?
No.
I think podcasting's a lot like, it reminds me a lot of hitchhiking because of what you're talking about, that there's like there's an aspect of it that's kind of contrived and forced that, here we are in this car and
right.
I don't want you to kick me out because
Right.
it's raining
I need to
out
be
there and
entertaining
it's
for you.
dark and I'm
Yeah.
trying to get to, wherever the hell I'm trying to get to. And yeah, so there's, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's the kind of thing that for me started out, the hitchhiking, it starts out with some fake sincerity in the sense that, oh, hey, I'm going to pretend I'm interested in you because you stopped and picked me up. And,
Right.
Even though you're not the kind of person I would ever really talk to in normal life.
Right.
But then after doing that for a while, I found that my sincerity wasn't fake, that I was actually really interested in these people, and the exposure to people I would never have come across otherwise was actually really interesting.
And you find places like of connection, right?
Yeah. Or just like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good way to say it is connection, but it's also appreciation for someone that's totally alien to me.
Right.
A
Right.
lot of, I hitchhiked when I was very young. I was in college. I hitched across America a couple times, and from Montreal to New York, and from Seattle to LA, I guess.
That's ballsy. I mean, back then, I guess it wasn't as, it seems more nefarious.
It was
or dangerous
pretty,
now.
it was the end of
Yeah.
hitchhiking. It
Right.
was the early 80s. So it was definitely, we were into the, well beyond the Zodiac Killer and
Where it was a little bit,
all that shit. I wouldn't do it now if I were young. I mean, I'd do it here, where everybody, but
Right.
But yeah, the people that I met some real interesting characters that I never would have met otherwise. Lonely, closeted gay guys. A lot of it's that.
And would they tell you, like, as you're going, would they tell you that they're gay at a certain point, or was it just
different?
Because in the 80s it was a different
situations, but a lot of it was, I remember just this feeling of sadness of like, a guy in his 50s or 60s, kind of like conservative Christian guys just out cruising around looking for, like, to have a connection with someone who doesn't know him, has no way of,
right.
like total anonymity.
Right.
And they'd, generally they'd hint at it and, so, yeah, the girlfriend.
Oh, I see. So sometimes you were getting picked up because they thought you could,
Yeah, they would, yeah, there was that. And a lot of it was, kind of Christian, like, charity.
Right.
Like, I'll stop because you need help. And also I'm going to tell you about Christ and you're going to see the light and all that. which was always an interesting thing to finesse, you know, because you don't want to tell them like you don't want to close, like, you want them to think there's a chance of a sale, you know, until you get to your exit or whatever.
At a certain point. Yeah.
I remember one guy, it must have been like in Nevada or somewhere, like way out in the desert, like desolate. And he was laying the Christian thing on real heavy. And I don't remember what happened, if he was being aggressive with me or threatening or what, but I got kind of pissed off and was just like, okay, you know, enough of that. Like
drop me off here.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, yeah. And he pulled over and dropped me off. And then I realized that I was like, there was a prison there. And there were all these signs saying, do not pick up hitchhikers. And I was like, oh, I'm going to walk 30 miles now. Yeah.
Joke's on you.
Yeah.
It turns out Christ was the way.
I took the wrong way.
Yeah, I dated a born-again Christian when I was in my 20s. That was interesting.
Wait, didn't you tell me something? Was that in Korea?
No.
You dated someone in Korea.
I was living in Korea when we were dating, but we started dating in Cleveland before that. But yeah, she was a born-again Christian. She moved to Israel, to Jerusalem to go get her master's in religious studies. And I moved to South Korea to teach English.
Right.
And yeah, so she, at one point, we were talking about getting married, and she said she couldn't marry somebody who wasn't a Christian. And I really love this woman, so I was like, well, I should at least find out. Maybe I'll try. Let me give it a shot. So I read the entire Bible, whole thing, quite boring, frankly. And thought about it, and, you know, tried praying and stuff. And at the end of it, it didn't take. Too many problems. But it turns out she ended up meeting a Jewish guy in Israel and falling in love with this Jewish guy, and then she moved to New York and converted to Judaism. So she's a Jew now.
And what were you raised as?
I was raised Catholic, and I guess I'm still a Catholic according to the rules.
Because you got baptized.
Confirmed is the thing you have to get.
Oh, you were confirmed?
Confirmed, yeah.
No, I never got confirmed.
Well, you're not a Christian then.
But I am circumcised, so...
Yeah, I mean they circumcised us all back then. Let's be clear,
yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, you should get some credit for that, Jesus.
You would think so.
Jesus.
I mean, what kind of credit?
You know, a few heaven credits.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a more comfortable cloud up there.
Yeah.
You ever hear that Louis C.K. joke where he's like, wouldn't it be funny if you like go to heaven and you're like, really? It's like a guy with a beard and everything? Like, come on. Yeah.
Louis C.K.'s not going to heaven.
Yeah, I mean, those are all tricky ones, that whole cancel culture thing that happened back then. It got a little out of control.
Yeah, for me, the worst was the case of a psychiatrist at Columbia. He taught at Columbia University. He was, on the board of all these hospitals, very prominent psychiatrist. And there was a photograph on Instagram of this model I think she's from Ethiopia. And she's known as like the Ebony Queen or something. Like she's black, sure. Right? Totally black. And that's kind of her claim to fame, that she's beautiful, but she's also extremely black.
Right.
And there was a photograph that she posted, or someone posted of her, I don't remember, like sitting at the edge of a bed with white sheets and white pillowcases and a white wall behind her. And so her, the exposure of the photograph really accentuates the darkness of her skin. And people were commenting how beautiful it was and, whatever. And this guy said, whether a freak of nature or not, she's certainly a beautiful woman. He got fired from all his positions. He was, publicly humiliated. She claimed to be, devastated by being called a freak.
Of course.
And
I mean, it's not the best wording, let's be clear, but like that's an over response, yeah.
Well, LeBron James is a freak of nature. Mike Tyson's a freak of nature.
Right. Yeah.
The guy who holds the world record for the 100-meter dash is a freak of nature.
Right.
There's nothing inherently negative about saying someone's a freak of nature. It just means they're outside of the normal distribution of any given trait.
Sure, I guess it's probably, in this case, it was probably because the trait was blackness, you know.
Right. Which,
right.
You know, nobody's there's nothing inherently negative about being black.
No, of course not.
So
but that actually, you're right. I mean,
so I don't see what his sin is. I don't see what his crime is.
No.
It's like, I don't get it. It seems to me that the people who are offended are expressing racism, not him.
Right, that's interesting. I mean, I could certainly understand why that would blow up as an offensive thing, but if you actually dig into it, then...
He wasn't expressing racism. He was simply saying, she is one of the darkest skinned people I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Therefore, she's outside of the normal distribution of that particular trait. But there's nothing inherently negative about it unless you think being black is negative.
Right. Yeah,
right?
I get it. Yeah.
If someone's 7 feet tall, you say, well, wow, he's a freak of nature. But you're not saying, you know, there's something inherently inferior about it.
It's the freak word that I think, it's the freak is a weird word because it could be positive or negative in a way. You know,
sure. Rick James, super freak.
Right.
She's super freaky. And then it turns out he's got a woman chained up in his basement.
That's right. He sure did.
He went to prison for that.
He sure did.
I don't know if she was a super freak or you're the super freak, Rick. Yeah.
Well, if you write super freak, there's probably something going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, just talking about cancel culture, that one was so unjust. And the Aziz Ansari one, like, what was his sin?
There's a lot of them. It got out of
ridiculous.
hand. Yeah.
Woody Allen, I just heard an interview with Woody Allen the other day.
He was on like the Bill Maher podcast. Yeah.
No, I didn't see. I saw some clips of that, but I guess he's doing the rounds because he has a novel out.
Yeah.
The one I heard was with Barry Weiss on Free Press.
Right.
But it was interesting because, you know, she asked him about all the, I guess Bill Maher probably did too, but all the, you know, controversy about things he was accused of and all that. And it was really interesting because he was so chill about it.
I know the same thing on Bill Maher too. Yeah, he's like, yeah.
And it's because he's like this famously neurotic, you know, if you said neurotic American man, Woody Allen would probably be what comes to most people's minds.
Right.
And yet here he is being, you know, vilified publicly, and he was basically like, I know I didn't do it, and I don't really care.
That's basically, that's what he said. And I think Woody Allen's kind of, I mean, marrying your stepdaughter is a weird thing to do. But
not illegal.
No, not at all. And I don't think he did the other stuff, but that's, nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear that he's bad. You know, and the funny thing about the Bill Maher one was, like, at one point he said, he was asking about Trump, and he was like, Woody Allen said something to the effect of, like, I would like to work with Trump because I would like to direct him. And she was kind of saying that I would want to direct him and make him do better things. But of course the media's headline was, Woody Allen says he wants to work with with Trump.
Right.
And it's like, come on.
Yeah.
The mainstream media is the problem.
Yeah, you can't win with media. Although you've been on the other side of that, right?
And they're I think a big part of the problem too, that 24-hour news cycle and the nonstop punditry, and we have to be divided. There's no middle ground. You have to stay on either side of this because that's the way we like you to be. We want you to hate each other so much that you're not paying attention to the way we're continuing to fleece the country and profit off of our offices. And the media is even complicit because then the corporate money, it's all the political media complex and all that.
Yeah, they make money from the drama.
Yeah, and Trump's making a fortune off of this presidency. I mean, it's like the number of things that he's done that, like, if Democrats even tried to do it, it would be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I saw a quote from Hannah Arendt.
Arendt, I think.
Arendt.
That's how I always thought it was. Hannah Arendt. It's DT, isn't it? HR. Anyway.
She should have changed her name.
Yeah, just to make it easier for people to say.
Yeah, it's a name I've read thousands of times, but never really heard pronounced, I don't think. But she said something about how, you know, I guess she was talking about the rise of fascism. But she said something about how the sort of embrace of cruelty and the like adolescent delight in flouting conventional norms and all that was refreshing for people because it exposed the hypocrisy upon which the culture had been based. And I feel like that's really what's going on now, where it's, you know, what we're talking about with the sort of polite country club corruption that's been going on for decades and decades.
Right, let's take the mask off.
Yeah, and someone comes along and says, well, no. Well, of course I don't pay taxes. I'm not stupid.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Why would I pay taxes? I'm a millionaire. I hire people to make sure I don't pay taxes. Like, there's something refreshing about that.
Yeah, and the only reason he could do that is because he had all his own money, you know? Like, he's a rich guy.
Money.
So, his dad's money, right? But whatever. So he could say, fuck you to everybody. Kind of did.
Yeah, I mean, that, to me, I despise Trump, but there are things about him that are refreshing. One of them is all these people who have fuck you money who never say fuck you, including the people who aren't saying fuck you to Trump right now, which is why he doesn't respect them.
Yeah.
It's like if Jeff Bezos can't say fuck you to Trump, who can? You know, or Musk or whatever. It's like, what is the purpose of all that money if it doesn't buy you the freedom from having to kiss somebody's ass?
Well, you want more money. I think that's the thing.
But why? It doesn't.
I think
It's like having more food. You can't eat more food.
Right, but I think that like there's an emptiness in a lot of these people's souls, and a lot of people just in general, that they're trying to fill with something. And I think that, you know, the line always, you know, the bar keeps going up, right? So I think that once you start accumulating money, or even becoming successful in any field, you keep wanting to get higher and higher. And I think it becomes somewhat of an addiction, because if you're not your money, then who are you? Then I have to examine myself and try to, you know, realize, because the happiness doesn't come, because they're still unhappy and they still have more and more money. You know what I'm saying?
This is a good time for a commercial break. Those of you who are not supporting the podcast at $5 a month or $50 a year are really missing out, because I need that money. I need it so bad. Please, please send me your money. I need more Yeti cups.
Wow, that's quite a commercial you just did there. I think you're going to get quite a few more subscribers.
You think so? You think people are going to sign up?
Yeah.
I've got 9 Yeti cups. I need 11.
Why do you need so many Yeti cups?
Because I need to drink 11 cups of coffee at the same time.
Oh.
I might have 11 people come by. Who knows?
Oh, so it's just in case.
Just send me your money. It doesn't matter what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah, my mom has a lot of plastic cups in her. She's like tons of these plastic cups. And I'm always like, why do you have? She's like, but what if all these people come over?
Yeah.
Like, so she has 100 cups ready for the big party that's suddenly going to happen at her house.
I don't know. I'm not very. I'm kind of anti-consumer in most things, but I do have a problem with Yeti cups.
Huh? Interesting.
Anya has pointed it out. She's like, "You got another fucking Yeti cup?"
I have one and I've never used it.
Why not?
Because I don't drink coffee out of those. Number one, I drink out of a mug, right? And I just carried my water bottle, which is the Hydro Flask brand. If we're going to go.
Oh, you're a Hydro Flask boy.
I'm a Hydro Flask boy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What is it? The Visco girls. That's what the Visco girls would. It was like a thing 5 years ago, and it's like a baggy sweatshirt and a Hydro Flask with stickers on it. So yeah, I guess I'm a Visco boy in some way. Yeah.
Or maybe you're about to go Visco trans on us.
I don't think so.
You
I
got the
don't
stickers.
feel that in me. Yeah.
You do have a lot of stickers.
I don't think the stickers necessarily mean that I'm trans.
So what's coming up in your on your podcast? Do you sort of plan guests, or you just meet them as you go?
Yeah, no, I plan them out. Like, I'm arranging a few interviews, but like this one, I'm just recording. A lot of people say that they'd like to hear me just like, because when I was on the road trip, I just kind of would be driving and rambling about wherever I was, and and a lot of people say they really love that. So I'm trying to do more of those, and not make it just about. Have you ever heard the podcast, The Rumble Strip?
No.
So it's a really great podcast out of Vermont. This woman does these like kind of audio diary kind of things where she'll, I don't know how to describe. Some of them are just her thoughts, but some of them are interviews with people, and some of them are like talking about a place and talking to different people at that place, like this pond that they all went to. And it's really interesting storytelling. But it kind of inspired me in a way to see what I could do and do different things and try to, make it whatever it wants to be. But that makes it hard for people to understand. Like, I need people to understand what they're going to get into when they start listening to the thing. So at some point I need to, like, have some sort of a concept, but I don't know. I'm still only 20 episodes in, so.
I don't know if you really need a concept.
There's all the information on the internet about podcasting. It really is too much for me because, there's a lot of people that are like a big problem with you need to have a fairly specific, if you're just like conversations with interesting people are like, oh, that's every fucking podcast, right? So yeah, it needs to be more than that. But then I look at your description and yours is very simple. Yours is just like, one sentence and very straight and to the point.
And kind of sarcastic, if I remember.
It didn't feel sarcastic.
Isn't it like small batch, handcrafted? I'm sort of making fun of that whole...
No, I don't think it is. I think it's more sincere. Maybe you changed it without remembering. Yeah, look it up. But.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have seen that advice. You got to be specific because you're trying to capture people who are interested in chainsaw art, or whatever.
Right.
But I feel like there's another realm in which it's just people get used to you and they just want to hang out with you.
Right, and I think that's kind of the line I'm trying to walk on. Because my mom wants me to just do me talking. Because when I was on the road trip, she's like, at first she was the first person that responded to the podcast, and she was like, couldn't get through it. Maybe it's just my age. And I was really upset because like the very first review from my mother.
And she's the one who said you nailed it with the movie.
Yeah, but then I actually thought about it because it really bothered me. And then I thought about it. And a couple of days later, like, I called her up and I was like, Mom, or I texted her something. And I was like, Mom, like, I know you didn't mean it. And I know you maybe don't entirely do podcasts or whatever. But like, it really kind of hurt my feelings when you put a lot of work into this, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I'm so sorry. And then she texted me like 2 days later. She's like, well, I listened to more podcasts, and now I understand what they are, and yours is very good.
Sounds like my mother.
Yeah, and now she loves it. Now she's like, oh, I love your podcast. It's just like you're sitting and talking to me. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah. My mom listens to mine. Hi, Mom. And
my mom will probably listen to this.
And it's cool. And I'm really happy she's interested. And, it's nice that, we stay in touch.
Yeah, it makes you feel connected to you. Yeah.
But there's sometimes, because of my research and my life, sometimes the podcast is, I'm talking to a sex worker or a porn star or, whatever. And I'm kind of like, God, I wish Mom weren't listening to this.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. And in some ways, my podcast has been like sometimes a way for me to communicate things that I would never say directly to my mom. Not on purpose, but like, oh, should I leave that in? Because, but yeah. And one of the episodes that I got a little bit too deep about family stuff, she didn't like that one. But she didn't exactly say why, but she didn't like it.
Yeah.
But I knew why.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can't just make a podcast for your mom, though.
Well, there's an idea.
Right, podcast for my mom.
Yeah. This is for you, Mom.
Well,
every episode.
Start a new one, yeah. But
people can, like, listen in if they want, but it's really for Mom.
Right.
Yeah.
Memories of childhood and so forth.
Are you going to have your mom on as a guest?
I would love to, but I don't think she wants to do that.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You should
well,
ask her.
I mean, I was going to make, you should ask her, yeah. I was making I was trying to record and I did a few. I was thinking I wanted to record to keep family history and record interviews with family members just to talk about stories so that, and, my mom didn't want to do it. Yeah. I think my sister would do my podcast.
A friend of mine just wrote a book. I think it's just out this week or coming out soon called, I think it's called One Last Thing Before You Go, How to Interview Your Parents.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a really good book. Kyle Tierman wrote it. I'm going to have him on to talk about it. But yeah, it's very much about, how do you get into these conversations, and there are techniques that he outlines, but then he intersperses it with his own conversations with his parents, who are very interesting people. You ever heard of a film? Oh, what the fuck's it called? It's like a conspiracy film. It's very well known. All about the free energy thing and all this kind of hocus pocus, pseudoscience stuff. Oh, fuck.
Citizen Kane?
No. Fuck, I forget what it's called. Anyway, his mother and stepfather produced that.
All right.
And it's very controversial. So a lot of it's him respecting them as people, but
also
feeling like he can't connect to them. You know, they're like essentially flat earthers, right?
Right.
And it's like, well, how do you relate to someone you love who believes things that are unbelievable to you? So.
Yeah. I have a friend in Columbus whose mom is like QAnon. Still, and she says they just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. I mean, it's hard for QAnon people to not talk about it, so it's always kind of infiltrating the. Is he still doing that? The QAnon people? Is that still happening? I don't even know. Like, is he still posting that whole thing?
I don't
Whatever
know.
happened to that?
It's one of those things. It's like Antifa. Like, is there any there? Is there any? Is there anyone organizing these things, or is it just like a spontaneous eruption of lunacy?
Yeah, I don't know. The QAnon one though, that's a wacky one. It's a wacky one.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. I got a construction project that's about to begin.
Yeah, I've got to finish the living room.
My carpenter shows up here in a few minutes. So,
how do you? Does it drive you crazy all day hearing the banging?
Yeah.
Get some noise canceling headphones or something.
Yeah. No, the thing is, I'm like on call too, because either we're working together or. He'll be working on things and he'll be like, hey, you want this done this way? Or, what wood do you want to use here? What's going on? So I'm always like answering questions and, hey, can you order some more of these screws? We're almost out of screws. And okay.
So you're like the assistant.
Yeah. I'm part boss, part lackey.
Right.
You
need the hammer?
Yeah. I do spend time handing him tools if he's up on a ladder. Today he's going to be up on a ladder putting silicone around the window frames.
Big fan. Around the windows.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to look great. I mean, it already looks great, but...
Yeah, I can't wait to live in it. I'm really tired of this, because I can't write, I can't read, I can't
Why not?
Well, because I'm on call. There's noise and there's constant interruption.
Right.
So it's hard to, do my thing.
And how much longer does it take?
Oh, I think another month maybe.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah, we just have to put the floor down in the big room.
Yeah.
And do the walls in the other smaller room. But yeah, we're pretty much done, and then it's just spend a lot of money on shitty quality furniture.
Right, fill it up, right?
Yeah.
You gotta fill the nest. You gotta start fill the nest.
Yeah.
Fill the nest.
Yeah. One thing I'm looking forward to is I want to buy like a nice stereo system. Like what I had in high school,
Right.
Speakers, receiver, amplifier. I want to kind of get back into that. Although I don't
do the vinyl thing. You can do the vinyl thing.
No.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. I'm trying to sell mine now because I never listened to them.
Really?
I have like a bunch, and I got into it, and I was like, nah. When I first got them, I'd listen to them, but I just don't. And I realized I'm more of a singles guy than a whole album guy. Like I want the best thing of the thing.
You
I don't
have
want
like
the whole.
a fear of commitment. Is that what it is?
You think that's what it is? I don't know. I was thinking about this yesterday when I was watching the highlights. There was a football game, Denver versus the Giants, where they came back, blah blah blah. And I don't watch like whole games unless they're like in the playoffs, the team. But I just watched the highlights, and I thought, oh, that's something about me, is that I like the highlights, even with that and with like music. Like I like the singles. And I'm trying to think, maybe that's a fear of commitment, but I don't. Maybe it is.
So what if they made like mini singles where it's just the best parts of the song?
I mean, it really depends on how that was given to me. Because if it was like, was it 5 seconds or 10 seconds, I feel like I wouldn't.
Like In the Air Tonight, it would just be
the drum part. But that drum part doesn't exist without the rest of the song.
Yeah. But you know it. You know the rest of the song already.
You do, but
so
it's the vibe. No, I feel like I want the whole song. I just want the best songs. Like I like the singles. I'll listen to a whole album now and again, but generally speaking, I'm just shuffling all the singles. Yeah. And I always wish that I could be an album person, because I know people who just listen to whole albums all the time.
Is that an age thing?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, I'm older than you, and when I came up, albums mattered.
Yeah, me too.
Like, not all of them, but there were, like Dark Side of the Moon is an album.
Yeah, for
to
sure.
listen to singles from that is kind of missing the point.
Right, for sure. That's one to listen to beginning to end. And back in those days, it was like you'd buy, I only had so much money, you'd buy a CD or whatever, and that's the thing you had to listen to over and over because you didn't have Spotify or whatever. Right. Every song you ever could think, every song ever at your fingertips at all times, which is a blessing and a curse, really.
Because albums, people don't make albums anymore. There's not like...
Yeah, not a lot of people.
Oh, this will be the third song on side B. That's where it fits in.
Right.
Like, nobody thinks that way.
Right, there's not a lot of, like, concept albums anymore.
Yeah.
There's no Pink Floyd The Wall being made.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, so you had to listen to the same thing over and over. So I guess I was an album guy back then because I had to be.
So no, I'm not going to get into vinyl.
No, don't. And if you do, you should let me know because I'll sell you mine.
Yeah. No, I don't want to. But I do want good speakers, and I want, I want something that sounds really good. Because we got this new room.
Yeah,
so,
no. And there's nobody really around, so you can play it loud.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely no neighbors.
Yeah, well, that'll be exciting. And then you can hook it into your video system too, and you can have
for movies.
Yeah.
We're gonna have movie nights.
Yeah.
Invite a bunch of people over.
What's the first one you're gonna show?
I don't know. I've got a list of like 50. One recent one that got on the list is Annie Hall.
Oh,
I'd like to see that again.
Man, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Woody Allen was a master filmmaker.
Yeah, and Diane Keaton, just died. So, a lot of it, it's cool because a lot of the films are films I want to see again that Anya's never seen.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
So, because she's 27 years younger than me, so there's that component of it. The pleasure of introducing her to something that I know is really good.
Yeah.
And then the pleasure of watching it again. I taught high school briefly in Spain, and I don't remember what excuse I had, but I showed the class The Graduate.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
And it was like 20 minutes per class, and then we talk about that 20 minutes, and so we really just like took off a bite and then chewed it. And I had seen it probably 3 or 4 times before then, but that was really interesting to show it to these kids and,
for sure,
talk about, the commentary on the culture and changing sexual mores and, the whole thing about career, plastics.
Right. I did the same thing. I taught a film class remotely in 2020, and I showed them The Graduate. This is 2020. And it was interesting that their take on it from their upbringing and so forth was very much focused on that she is a like toxic sexual assaulter in a way. Oh. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because that's never even a thing.
Right.
It kind of crossed my mind, but from one angle, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just love Dustin Hoffman's performance in that is just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Like that sound he makes. Yeah.
Everything about that film is spectacular.
And that he was in the line for unemployment. Like he was broke as broke can be when he got that role.
Right. It was supposed to go to Robert Redford.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually written for Robert Redford. Yeah.
Which would have been a whole different and not right. It wouldn't have worked.
Well, that's I really enjoy thinking about that when I read about this role had been offered to.
Right.
Like, one of my favorites is Silence of the Lambs. Anthony Hopkins was like third choice.
Who was?
Jack Nicholson.
Oh.
Was offered that role.
I think that's too on the nose.
Yeah.
Particularly after The Shining. I feel like that's just way too on the nose because, like, you could already be.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson's already got creepy, but Anthony Hopkins didn't really have creepy to me before that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Was Legends of the Fall before that?
I don't know. I've never seen that one.
Oh.
Yeah. Dog Day Afternoon. That's another one you should see. That's
Al Pacino.
An amazing film. Yeah. The camera just moves and moves and moves in that movie.
Who directed that?
Sidney Lumet.
Oh, right.
Yeah. He did that, and then Serpico was the next one, 2 in a row. Yeah. The 70s, man. There's some The 70s was like the best period, I think, of American filmmaking.
Yeah.
Because ugly people started being actors, and they were amazing actors. So
Elliot Gould really opened it up.
Right, a lot, yeah. Yeah.
But also there was this kind of energy, like, on sets. You could see that people were like, you know, when they finished filming for the day, they were fucking and getting high, and probably getting high before they were filming. Like MASH. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was just this kind of feeling of, like, there was a party going on, and they were making a movie while they were partying.
Well, the studio system had kind of died, so, like, they were kind of like, it was a free-for-all in a way, and people were like Easy Rider, like, that story of that movie getting made was just getting a bunch of money tossed at them. Go, make your hippie movie.
Yeah.
And, and they're, like, literally getting high in the movie.
Speaking of Jack Nicholson, what a great cameo that was.
Indians. Isn't that what he said after?
Wait.
Indians.
Yeah, you ever seen 5 Easy Pieces?
A long time ago, yeah.
That's an amazing film. Early Jack.
He's still alive, I think.
Yeah, barely.
Doesn't go to the Oscars anymore.
Or does he go to Lakers games?
I don't know. Was his last thing The Departed? That was one of the last things I remember him being in, was The Departed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie confused me, because I kept getting the actors confused. Like, who is it? It's like the two Boston cops.
Yeah, it was What's His Name and What's His Name.
Yeah, those two.
Those two guys, yeah.
They look very similar, and I kept confusing, like, wait, is this the good one or the bad one? And maybe that's the point.
That's kind of the point, yeah.
Yeah. But I found it a very frustrating movie to watch.
I liked it. I think it's interesting that Scorsese's editor is Thelma Schumacher, is a woman. I just think it's interesting that she's the editor of these a lot of them very masculine. Yeah. But then it used to be all women back in the day. It was women. They thought it was like sewing. They thought of editing as kind of being like a sewing thing. So women were all the editors back in the old film days.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah, I have a friend who's an editor, a pretty prominent TV editor. I guess he does film too. But he did all the Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, he's a Roger Nygaard. He's a funny guy, and so his sense of humor helps him edit comedy, because he like gets the timing. He understands the when to let the camera pause a little, and linger. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, I love improvised stuff like that. That's most of the stuff I've made has been like largely improvised, which I really like. There's a naturalism to it that I feel like you don't get.
So have you seen the new Spinal Tap?
Have not seen it yet, no.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's got mixed reviews, but I'm certainly curious. I think it's only on streaming or something. It's on like Paramount Plus or something. Yeah. I'm curious. It's very short. It's like only 80 minutes long.
I'm just amazed they did it.
I know.
And they're still alive.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up. onefjef. Check out the podcast.
Yeah, onefjef.
onefjef.
And yeah, onefjef.com. If you need anybody to edit your videos or anything, you let me know, because I'm good.
You're a vagabond, currently out of work video editor.
I've been traveling all year. It's been really great. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
And you're based in Ohio, right?
Yeah, for now. I'm trying to figure out an exit strategy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to find remote work so I can kind of just do a digital nomad thing for a year or two.
I mean, is editing generally remote?
I mean, it wasn't. After 2020, like I was with the Lincoln Project, so that was all remote. But I don't know what percentage of it. I just know it's a very difficult place to find a job right now. And yeah, but there's no reason that. I guess there's. Sometimes you would, like a feature film, you can't do that remotely. That'd be hard. But like a lot of the stuff I would be doing, like short form stuff for the internet or whatever, I think that's easy to do remotely.
Right.
I'm trying to get like more podcasting, producing kind of jobs, which I could do remotely too, because, so who knows, but I'm happy that I've taken advantage of the fact that I've not been employed, because a lot of people would immediately start looking for another job, which seems to be misguided, right?
Take advantage of it. Unemployment is a great opportunity
to reset your brain and try to figure out where you are
and just go places you don't go if you're have a week of vacation. You're not going to fly to Bogota for a week.
Yeah. So we'll see, trying to find a way to, make money on my own terms, but that's a difficult thing to do in today's economy, but, so we'll see. But, yeah, I'm grateful that I've been able to have this year. Hopefully I can continue it to more years of living an interesting life as opposed to being in my house all day editing political videos.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a recipe for mental health.
No, not so much.
All right, thank you, onefjef. I got to take a piss.
Thanks, Chris Ryan. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Abrupt.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me on.
Hello to your mother.
Yeah, hello to your mom as well. Yeah.
All right.
And there you go. There is my conversation with Chris Ryan. I hope you enjoyed it. Hi, Mom. Hi, Chris Ryan's mom. I hope that wasn't too difficult to listen to. If you enjoyed this episode, please send it to somebody else that you know and love, or know and hate. Doesn't matter to me. Just send it to somebody. It's how these things spread. And if you're not subscribed to the podcast, please do go to whatever platform you're using, but ideally Apple Podcasts, and click that subscribe button, because that helps the algorithm understand how good this podcast is. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at onefjefpod. That's onefjefpod on Instagram. You can follow it on a lot of other social media platforms as well if you go to the show notes. I'm not going to bore you with all of them, but most of them involve the phrase onefjefpod. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, confusion, bewilderment, anger, joy, elation, positive vibes, you can email me at onefjefpod@gmail.com. I will respond for sure and possibly read your email on the air. Once again, if you didn't do it during the introduction, please do go to patreon.com/onefjef and subscribe. You'll get all sorts of fun new content. You'll get updates on new episodes, and you'll get a warm, warm feeling in your heart this holiday season. Once again, I'm going to close this episode with a short poem by the legendary Rumi, who was born in 1207. Did they call that 1207 back in the day, or 1207? Whatever. It was a long time ago. Do you think I know what I'm doing? That for one breath or half breath I belong to myself? As much as a pen knows what it's writing, or the ball can guess where it's going next. Take care of yourselves, my friends. I'll see you next week.
Very good, Jeffrey.